Well, howdy friends, Brian Flechsig, a Mad River Outfitters in the Midwest Fly Fishing Schools, and welcome back to our YouTube channel. As always, we appreciate you being here. Be sure to subscribe and hit that like button and stay tuned because we're just getting started. Tons of fly fishing content coming your way. So today we're going to talk about Blane Chocklett. You know how I feel about his new book, Game Changer. If you're not familiar with it, probably a link to the book review right there. But Blane is truly one of the great legends in my estimation, and all of us here at Mad River Outfitters. He's a great friend of the shop. He's been a big help to us, and he's opened up a whole new realm of fly fishing products, of course, Game Changer series of flies, and he has taught us so much really over the years. And I was fortunate enough to spend a weekend fishing with Blane, and we did a variety of different things, including catch a muskie of a lifetime. But if you don't know a lot about Blane and his story, watch this. I think you'll enjoy it. So Blane, you've been doing this a long time.
I have.
Yeah.
Don't want to give away my age, but yeah, I've been doing it. I've been guiding now for 31 years, I think.
I told you earlier that I ran my first hosted trip in 1990, so that puts me at 30 years. So, yeah. But we're both still relatively young guys.
Yeah, I feel it. Some days.
Yeah. You've been fishing your whole life.
I have.
As have I. But we both kind of took different paths in how we pursued that. And in a lot of ways, I envy you. We were talking on the drive down here that, you know, the irony of it is in a lot of ways, I really envy and admire what you've done, and your creativity is just unsurpassed. So what got you into fishing first and foremost?
As you've seen the past few days, I was very fortunate enough to be able to grow up in an outdoor environment that I think is hard to find anywhere in our country.
This place is it's an angler's mecca.
I agree. And I happen to have a grandfather that loved the outdoors, hunting and fishing. My dad grew up under him and learned from my grandfather. And when I got of age, they decided they were going to teach me and my brother and get us in the outdoors. And, you know, my brother didn't fall in love with it like I did. And, you know, I'll never forget the first time that they took me trout fishing. You know, and when I went, I mean, I was captivated by it, and it was like Christmas. You know, I couldn't sleep the night before, and we got up before daylight, and the whole process of packing the car and the anticipation of what was coming, and then seeing the sun come up over the Blue Ridge Mountains and dropping down into this beautiful native brook trout stream, and then getting down to the stock trout waters and seeing that whole process. Just, I was done at that time, and I never looked back.
Yeah. What caused you to start to push the boundaries of fly design? I think that's the one thing that's always intrigued me, is so many of us and so many of the legends of our sport were always, it just kind of seemed like, okay, well, maybe you throw on a woolly bugger and that's what you do. You weren't happy enough to leave that alone. What caused you to push those boundaries, especially in the world of fly design?
That one has several layers. Starting off, I was blessed and born with an artistic talent, so I have a creative mind. And then I grew up in an age where we started having cable television shows that had mentors and friends, and for me it was heroes like Flip Pallet,
myself included.
Larry Dahlberg, who it still have to pinch myself, and you know, and Flip was mentored by Lefty, you know, and I got to meet all those guys, and I got to learn from them and read all about them and watch them on TV. And when I was a teenager, I lived in the mountains with my dad and my mom, and my grandmother lived pretty close to where we are right now, literally a mile from here. And she had cable. We couldn't get cable because we lived in the boondocks. And I would make up excuses to go stay with her on a Friday night so I could wake up Saturday mornings and watch ESPN Outdoors.
Wow.
So seeing those guys, it opened up such a window to what they were doing, you know, and I saw Flip catching tarpon on a fly and doing all these other things. But Larry Dahlberg, the way his show worked, where he would do something and then show you why he would do it and how, and then teach you and show you, hey, muskies can be caught on a fly. That's like the James and New River in my backyard. We have those. I can go do that. So I set my mind to go mess with those fish, and I realized that they were there, and I would see them, and I would get my butt kicked. But I was never afraid to keep trying because I knew they could do it. And that might be being stubborn. It might be me thinking that I want to do this the rest of my life, and I knew I did. I mean, that's a whole other story. When I was a senior in high school, we could be here for hours on that. But the creativity there, and then moving forward, I knew when I got into college I didn't want to do that. I knew I wanted to open a fly shop. My dad thought I was crazy. He's like, no way that's going to happen. And I did it. I bit the bullet and I did it. The one thing I wasn't good at is retail. You know, I was passionate about what I wanted to do. I did it. I was mentored by Harrison Steves and Steve Heiner, who taught me a ton about flies and how fish react to stuff and all that kind of stuff. So I had a really quick learning curve there. I can't thank Harry Steves enough. I mean, he's a brilliant mind in fly design himself.
I still fish many of his patterns.
Right? I mean, he is brilliant. Yep. He's an artist. He's a brilliant man. And Steve Heiner, being an aquatic entomologist, gave me this book called McCafferty's Guide to Aquatic Entomology that helped me realize how important flies were over anything else and how fish responded to them. So all that combined, I learned on some of the most pristine trout rivers in the country that nobody really knows about, and still to this day really doesn't know about. A few people do. And then being super close to Tennessee and the tailwaters down there, and having our world-class smallmouth rivers and our musky rivers that we have, and then being super close to the Chesapeake Bay, I had an access to the world of fly fishing that most people will ever see in their life.
True, yeah.
So I was able to put all these things together, see how fish reacted positively or negatively to whatever I was throwing at them, and be able to learn. I mean, it was a true classroom, and having the artistic mind that I have, it was a perfect storm. I really believe that God put me on this earth to do what I'm doing.
Well, I would have to agree with you because, you know, I've said it many times. Our viewers have heard me say it, that I can't think of anybody when it comes to fly design, and now having, you know, fished a few days now together, which was long overdue, but we finally got it, and we're finally there, and we will be back. But nobody has pushed the boundaries and done the things that you've done with the fly design. And I mean, it's obvious you're an artist. Well, you're an angler first and foremost. You're an artist, but there also has to almost be something inside you that's you're just not content with.
No, I'm not.
with that reaction of the fish. That I don't mean to come across as a shrink here or anything, but you throw that fly out there and you're not happy with it. You're not happy with the reaction of the fish, and then you go home. Most of us would go home, have dinner, and turn on the Tonight Show or something. You're downstairs in the basement trying to fix that problem.
Yes. And you know, that's the thing. I mean, I have been unbelievably blessed with falling over myself and meeting the right people in my life.
Yeah.
My life. I mean, Lefty and Flip, and not trying to name drop, but these people guided me to where I am today. Bob Popovic is probably the biggest inspiration for me on fly design, because in my mind, the greatest fly designer in the world ever.
Yeah.
You know, and he took me under his wing. He was super nice to me when he didn't have to be. And Dave Whitlock's another one.
Well, Dave was my Bob Popovic's.
Right. I mean, these guys are all so nice.
Early on in my career, we're talking about the mid '90s, just a few years into Mad River Outfitters, I got to know Dave. We became friends. We started fishing together, and then at one point, I asked Dave if he would be a special guest in a video. And I'm so old, it was a VHS tape when we first released it. You know,
I'm right there with you, buddy.
Yeah, and then we finally released it on DVD. But Dave Whitlock was the star, actually, in a DVD we did called Carpin, about catching carp on a fly. And I asked Dave, and I was very reluctant to ask him because I thought for sure he would say no, or it's going to be $25,000 to have. And Dave said, "Brian, I'd be honored." And I offered to pay him, and he would not take
I know
any.
how that.
And he made that DVD. Nobody would have paid attention in 1999 to a video about trying to catch carp on a fly rod if it were not for Dave Whitlock being a part of it. And you know, and I can remember calling Lefty. I would call Lefty's house. This is again in the mid '90s. I would call Lefty's house, and Lefty would answer the phone. And I don't even remember, but I guarantee you they were stupid questions. But
I always had time for you.
Lefty answered my questions. And then finally, I think Lefty sloughed me off on Flip. He got tired of me, I think. So Lefty gave me Flip's fax number. And Flip tells this story really well. In fact, we've got a video on it. We did an anniversary thing. And Flip said, this kid kept faxing me, wanting to go fish, faxes and faxes. And he said, finally, I called him and he said, "Brian, stop faxing me." And he said, "Fine, I'll go fishing with you." And, you know, we've been very close friends ever since. And, you know, I was not as close to Lefty as you were. I know that Lefty was like a father, a grandfather to you.
Yeah.
And he did so much for you. I spent time with Lefty. Lefty helped me, but by no means was I as close to Lefty as you. And I
think he had a way of making everybody feel like they were important. You know what I mean?
He did. And let me tell you one quick Lefty story, and then we'll wrap this up. And I'm sure you have tons of Lefty stories. But I was carp fishing with Lefty one time. I took him out to these lakes where we have this incredible mulberry fishing. And it's where Dave and I filmed the thing, and then Flip and I filmed the Walker's Cay Chronicles.
Yep.
And so I had Lefty out there one time, and Lefty was on the front of the boat, and the mulberries were dropping, the carp were eating them, and I was trying to stay way back, and Lefty was, boom, and he just wasn't getting it. He just wasn't getting it. And I didn't want to critique him necessarily, but I also, you know, I was also kind of going, well, you know, kind of Lefty, you have to do this. And finally, Lefty said to me, he said, "Brian, I can't make this happen. You get up there and show me how to do this." And you know what, Blane, I realized many years later, so of course I was a young kid and I'm thinking, wow, Lefty can't do it, but I can. So I climbed up on the deck and plopped a mulberry down on a carp and caught him. Lefty darn well could have made that shot. And you're going to appreciate this. Lefty could have made that shot. Lefty said that, and Lefty asked me to get on the deck because he wanted me to do it. And he wanted me to do it in front of Lefty Craig because he knew what that would do to my ego, to my belief in myself, to my, he did that for me.
He had definitely had a way of doing that for a lot. He did so much to me and so many people. I mean, there's not very many people you run into this sport that's been around for any time that doesn't have a Lefty story.
Lefty,
and where he helped them.
Lefty touched all of us. Lefty helped all of us.
Yeah.
There will never be another one of them like him. And the fact that we continue to innovate and we continue to push boundaries. You know, again, thanks to folks like yourself. I mean, let me make it very clear to everybody there. I mean, I told you this. I've not designed much of anything in my life. My job is to, when you design something, my job is to take it and sell it and get it to the public. I mean, that's my forte. I really haven't designed much, but when Flip changed the size of the guides on the new Axiom 2 rods, he said, you know, Lefty always pushed the big guides on that, but he said, you know what, Brian, we found out that the smaller stripping guides are better, and he said, yes, it contradicts what Lefty said, but that's what Lefty would have wanted us to do, is to continue learning, continue studying, and continue to push those boundaries, and to continue to try to improve our sport and make it better for everybody.
Yep, he had zero ego.
Yeah. Well, Blane, I think you should be real proud to say that you're continuing that tradition, and there could not be a better name for you, for your book, for your flies than the Game Changer, because you've changed the game for a lot of people, and you've made it. You made our fishing a lot better, and I got to witness that firsthand here, and I just can't tell you how much I've learned and can't thank you enough. So
thank you for those words.
So keep doing it, man.
I appreciate it.
I know you will. You're not going to stop.
Congratulations on today's fish, man.
Oh man,
True.
I appreciate
Amazing.
that. I couldn't have done it without you. So
I don't know about that.
Yeah. So there you have it, friends. A little bit more about the man behind the Game Changers, the Game Changer himself, Blane Chocklett. I hope you enjoyed that, and stay tuned because we've got a lot more coming with Blane here at Mad River Outfitters. Thanks for being here. And subscribe. If you like this video, hit subscribe. It helps out a lot. And check out these videos. We think you might like them too.